author Miriam J. Chelsea comes an extraordinary and enduring story of two families forever joined by country and long-held secrets, and Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena and I love to read. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the books that are on my radar for 2024. It is the end of February, so there's a lot of books that have obviously already come out in January and February. I will include those as well because I haven't purchased any of them or borrowed them or anything yet, so I will include January and February publications, and I'll also be talking about books that are yet to come out in the months of March, April, May, and June. So I'll do the first half, January to June, and then later on in the year, I'll do like a second half for 2024 for the rest of the year. So yeah, so let's get right into it. I'm going to be looking at my computer, which is right over here. For me, choosing books, I kind of go off of, a lot of times I end up going off of how the cover looks, if there's any kind of talks about it on BookTube or Instagram, or maybe like people I speak to who also read books, maybe it's on their radar. So if I've heard anything in passing about certain books that are coming out, for the most part, these are books that I'm interested in reading because of the cover or because I saw some kind of publication for them online. Most of them will be literary fiction because, as I mentioned in my past video, I'll be focusing a lot more on literary fiction, and there might be like just a little bit of like mystery or horror spread out depending on what these books are. Some of them I've written them down on a list and I kind of forgot what they are or where I've heard of them, so I'm just gonna go by what I have on my computer here, and I'll probably read a little bit of the synopsis. I'm not one to read the whole synopsis. I don't really like it because sometimes they do give away the plot or the twist or whatever, so I'll read part of the synopsis and I'll let you know when the book is coming out and what genre it's part of. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'll give a little bit of space so that way I could add the books to the side so you can see what they are. So there are two books in January that I'm looking forward to read, and the first one is Family Family by Lori Frankel. It came out January 23rd and it's published by Henry Holt and Co. And it is categorized as literary fiction / contemporary, and I'm guessing it includes a family drama or something with the family because there is a category for family on Goodreads. I'm looking on Goodreads for all of these books, so feel free to take a look at Goodreads if you're interested. So again, this is called Family Family by Lori Frankel, and I'll read part of the synopsis. India Allwood grew up wanting to be an actor, armed with a stack of index cards for research / line memorization / makeshift confetti. She goes from awkward 16-year-old to Broadway ingenue to TV superhero. Her new movie is a prestige picture about adoption, but its spin is the same old tired story of tragedy. India is an adoptive mom in real life though. She wants everyone to know there's more to her family than pain and regret, so she does something you should never do. She tells a journalist the truth. It's a bad movie. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. That seemed interesting to me because I do like family drama, and this one is set in, like, it has TV or like a Hollywood kind of aspect to it, which I kind of like as well. Yeah, I'm interested in reading this one. I'll try to go through this as fast as possible as well and give you as much information but as little as possible too, because I don't want to give away anything, any kind of spoilers. Okay, the next book that I am looking forward to, or that is on my radar, this time we're moving into February, and the first book is Plastic by Scott Guild. I've seen this book around a few or a little bit, like on mainly on BookTube. I can't remember if people had liked it. I think it was just on other people's radars, but it already came out February 13. It's being published by Pantheon, and it's categorized as a science fiction dystopia, which I'm kind of getting into a little bit for some reason. Last year I seemed to read a lot of kind of dystopic books, so let's read the synopsis. Erin is a plastic girl living in a plastic world. Every day she eats a breakfast of boiled chicken, then conveys her articulated body to Tablet Town, where she sells other figurines' smart bodies, wearable tech that immerses them in a virtual world, a refuge from real life's brutal wars and eco-terrorist insurgency. If you cut her, she will not bleed, but figurines can still be cracked by gunfire or crumble from nuclear fallout. Erin, who's lost her father and the love of her life, certainly knows plenty about death. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because I think going on a little bit more kind of gives away the plot. So if you're interested, head on over to Goodreads or to StoryGraphs and you can read that synopsis yourself. But yeah, this book sounds really good. Like I said, I'm getting into the dystopic stuff, so this one is on my radar. Okay, so the next book is a nonfiction and it is called Splinters by Leslie Jameson. This one too, I've seen a little bit on other people's radars on BookTube and Instagram, and it is categorized as nonfiction, biography, memoir. It is being published by Little Brown and Company, and it already came out February 20th. I'm gonna read the synopsis. In her first memoir, Jameson turns her unrivaled powers of perception on some of the most intimate relationships of her consuming love for her young daughter, a ruptured marriage once swollen with hope, and the shaping legacy of her own parents' complicated bond. In examining what it means for a woman to be many things at once, a mother, an artist, a teacher, a lover, Jameson places the magical and the mundane side by side in surprising pumping breast milk in a shared university office, driving the open highway in the throes of new love, growing a tender second skin of consciousness as she watches her daughter come alive to the world. So I'll start right there. So I think the reason also that I picked this up was because of the cover, which I thought was really nice. It was also about motherhood. I'm really liking books about motherhood. I haven't read any nonfiction about motherhood. I don't think I have. But I have read a lot of novels related to like motherhood and the struggles of motherhood. It has more of like a metaphorical, speculative aspects to those books. So this will be nice to read, you know, somebody's actual story and experience on motherhood and life and family. So yeah. So the next book on my radar is Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. This one is categorized as literary fiction / historical fiction. It's published by Knopf and it already came out on February 27. I'll read the second paragraph for this one. Colorado, 1864. Starr, a young survivor of the Sand Creek Massacre, is brought to the Fort Marion prison castle where he's forced to learn English and practice Christianity by Richard Henry Pratt, an evangelical prison guard who will go on to found the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, an institution dedicated to the eradication of Native history, culture, and identity. A generation later, Starr's son, Charles, is sent to the school where he is brutalized by the man who was once his father's jailer. Under Pratt's harsh treatment, Charles clings to moments he shares with a young fellow student, Opal Viola, as the two envision a future away from the institutional violence that follows their bloodlines. Yes, I remember seeing this book. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but I definitely added this one to my radar for 2024, and it just came out I believe February 27th, so it's already out. Actually no, okay, well today is February 23rd, so February 27 is in 4 days, but by the time I probably put this video up, maybe it's already February 27. So yeah, if you want to add this book to your TBR, please do so. It sounds like a really good book and something I'll be really interested in reading. Another book that's coming out on the same day, February 27, and this one is by an author that I read before and mentioned in my books that I gave 5 stars to in 2024. I'll add it up here somewhere. But the book that I am talking about is called The Butcher of the Forest by Premi Mohammed. And I read Premi Mohammed's book, The Annual Migration of Clouds. And if you watched my video where I gave it 5 stars, you'll know that I really enjoyed that book. As small as it was, I still really enjoyed it. I think this one is still a very small book. It's a novella and is categorized as a fantasy / horror, which is really interesting. So I'm excited to read this one. The cover is so pretty with like the gold and the forest green and the gold horses. Is that a gold horse? Yeah. Or is it like, it's a unicorn. It's a unicorn, yeah. So it seems like a book that I would probably have more fun reading in the fall. So we'll see when that happens. But in any case, this one is coming out February 27. It's published by Tor. And like I said, is categorized as a fantasy / horror. So I'll read the synopsis. A world-weary woman races against the clock to rescue the children of a wrathful tyrant from a dangerous otherworldly forest. I can't say that word. At the northern edge of a land ruled by a monstrous foreign tyrant lies the wild forest known as the Elmiver, or Elmavir. I'll say Elmiver. The villagers know better than to let their children go near. When someone goes in, they never come back out. Ooh. No one knows the strange and terrifying traps of the Elmiver better than Varys Thorn, the only person to ever rescue a child from the forest many years ago. When the tyrant's 2 young children go missing, Varys is commanded to enter the forest once more and bring them home safe. If Varys fails, the tyrant will kill her. If she remains in the forest for longer than a day, she will be trapped forevermore. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Now I feel like I maybe read too much. Plus it's like a short novella, so how many pages? It's 160 pages. Like I mentioned about the book that I read previously from Premi Mohammed, I really enjoyed her writing, and she managed to fit so much inside such a tiny book. So I'm curious to find out, you know, how this one works out. It's a fantasy too, so, and a horror, so that's interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that. All right, so now we're moving on to March, and in March there's quite a few books that I'm looking forward to reading. The next book that is on my radar is by Xochitl Gonzalez. It's called Anita de Monte Laughs Last, and this one is set to come out on March 5th, 2024. Is categorized as historical fiction / literary fiction / mystery. Okay, it's published by Flatiron Books. It reads as 1985. Anita de Monte, a rising star in the art world, is found dead in New York City. Ooh, already. Okay. Her tragic death is the talk of the town, until it isn't. By 1998, Anita's name has been all but forgotten. Certainly by the time Raquel, a third-year art history student, is preparing her final thesis. On College Hill, surrounded by privileged students whose futures are already paved out for them, Raquel feels like an outsider. Students of color like her are the minority there, and the pressure to work twice as hard for the same opportunities is no secret. But when Raquel becomes romantically involved with a well-connected older art student, she finds herself unexpectedly rising up the social ranks. As she attempts to straddle both worlds, she stumbles upon Anita's story, raising questions about the dynamics of her own relationship, which eerily mirrors that of the forgotten artist. Okay, that sounds really good. I didn't read the synopsis before, so I had no idea that this Anita Damonte was already like dead, so that was surprising. So yeah, I'm excited to read that. So the next book that is on my radar, it is a translation and it's called Until August by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this one, I think it was recommended by either Ivana on BookTube or Kat's Field Notes. They're both BookTubers on YouTube. I'll leave their channels down below if you're interested in checking them out. They put this book on my radar essentially, and it's categorized as a Nobel Prize in classic. So essentially it's a literary fiction. This one is set to come out on March 12th. It's being published by Knopf as well, and it is a translation. And it reads as the extraordinary rediscovered novel from the Nobel Prize winning author of Love in the Time of Cholera and 100 Years of Solitude. Sitting alone beside the languorous blue waters of the lagoon, Anna Magdalena Bach contemplates the men at the hotel bar. She's been happily married for 27 years and has no reason to escape the life she's made with her husband and children. And yet, every August, she travels by ferry here to the island where her mother is buried, and for one night takes a new lover. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. That sounds really interesting. The next book on my radar. This one I've seen a little bit on BookTube as well, and this one is called Jaded by Ella Lee. I think it was supposed to come out on February 8th, but maybe the pub date was pushed to March 19. It's being published by Simon & Schuster, and it's categorized as literary fiction / contemporary. A young lawyer wakes up the morning after a work gala with no memory of how she got home the previous night and must figure out what exactly happened and how much she's willing to put up with to make her way to the top of the corporate ladder. Okay, I feel like that's all I want to read. I have seen this one on BookTube. It's pretty much added to a lot of people's on the radar books that they want to read for 2024. So yeah, this one is definitely very intriguing to me. Another book that is set to come out also on March 19 is The Morning Side by Taya O'Brate. And this one sounds interesting. It's categorized as literary fiction / fantasy / magical realism. Like, that's cool. There's also a category for it as like dystopia and mystery. So there's a lot going on in this book. It is coming out March 19 and being published by Random House. The synopsis reads, after being expelled from their ancestral home, Sylvia and her mother finally settle at the Morningside, a crumbling luxury tower in Island City where Sylvia's Aunt Enna serves as the superintendent. Sylvia feels unmoored in her new life because her mother has been so diligently secretive about their family's past. Sylvia knows almost nothing about the place where she was born and spent her early years, nor does she know why she and her mother had to leave. But in Enna, there is a person. They didn't write that properly. Oh, but Aunt Enna, anyways, there is a person willing to give the young girl glimpses into the folktales of her demolished homeland, a place of natural beauty and communal spirit that is lacking in Sylvia's lonely and impoverished reality. Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to reading this book. So the next book on my radar, set to also come out in March. This one is also a nonfiction, which is really rare that I put like nonfictions on my list. But this one is about sports, and it's specifically about basketball. and it's called There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension by Hanif Abdurraqib. I hope I'm saying that properly. It is set to come out March 26th, being published by Random House, and it's nonfiction. It's categorized as nonfiction / sports / memoir. While Hanif Abdurraqib is an acclaimed author, a gifted poet, and one of our culture's most insightful critics, he is most of all, at heart, an Ohioan. I hope that's how you say it. People from Ohio. Growing up in Columbus in the 1990s, Abdurraqib witnessed a golden era of basketball, one in which legends like LeBron were forged, and countless others weren't. His lifelong love of the game leads Abdurraqib into a lyrical, historical, and emotionally rich exploration of what it means to make it, who we think deserves success, the tensions between excellence and expectation, and the very notion of role models, all of which he expertly weaves together with memoir. Yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I used to play basketball, and my sister plays basketball, and yeah, as soon as I saw this cover and the net, and I was like, yeah, I just have to put it, no matter what it is. I usually don't put nonfiction on my list of radars so much, like I'm not really paying attention to so much nonfiction, but this one I definitely had to add to my want to read list. So the next book coming out also in March, at the end of March, it is called Worry by Alexandra Tanner. And as soon as I saw this cover, I was like, I love it. It looks like it's like a painting or something, and I seem to really like covers with paintings. I've read a few books that have covers that are painted, although one of them I did DNF. But in any case, this book is called Worry by Alexandra Tanner. It is a literary fiction / contemporary, and it also is categorized as humor, so there's maybe a little bit of comedy, maybe it's a little dark humor, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. It's expected to come out on March 26th, being published by Scribner. It's March of 2019, and 28-year-old Jules Gold, anxious, artistically frustrated, and internet obsessed, has been living alone in the apartment she once shared with the man she thought she'd marry when her younger sister, Poppy, comes to crash indefinitely. Poppy is a year out from suicide attempt only Jules knows about, and as she searches for work and meaning in Brooklyn, Jules spends her days hate scrolling the feeds of Mormon mommy bloggers and waiting for life to happen. Yeah, I put that on my radar. This is the kind of book that I enjoy even watching as a movie. It's like a dramedy, and it's just really realistic, you know, a story that we can see happening in reality. I can't remember the words I'm looking for, but in any case, yeah, I definitely added this to my 2024 radar, a book that I definitely want to pick up. All right, now we're moving on to April, and the first book, and I've spoken about this book actually in my previous video. It is called Village Weavers by Miriam J.A. Chauncey, and I am definitely looking forward to reading this book. I read Miriam J.A. Chauncey's What Storm, What Thunder, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and as soon as I heard that this book was coming out, I was like, yeah, I'm putting it on my want to buy list. It's not even want to read, like I want to buy, I want to own it. So it is categorized as historical fiction. I would even categorize it probably as literary fiction because she's just a really good literary writer. And it is set to come out on April 2nd, published by Tin House Books. And it reads, sorry if you see any changes in the camera or the lighting. I had to stop filming because my battery died, and I had to charge it for a little bit. So I'm gonna continue with Village Weavers. I'm going to read the synopsis. So, from award-winning author Miriam J.A. Chauncey comes an extraordinary and enduring story of 2 families forever joined by country and by long-held secrets, and 2 girls with a bond that refuses to be broken. In 1940s, Paul Prince, Gertie, and Cece become fast childhood friends despite being on opposite ends of the social and economic ladder. As young girls, They build their unlikely friendship until a deathbed revelation ripples through their families and tears them apart. After François Duvalier's rule turns deadly in the 1950s, Cece moves to Paris while Gertie marries into a wealthy Dominican family. Across decades and continents, through personal success and failures, they are parted and reunited, slowly learning the truth of their singular relationship. Finally, 6 decades later, with both women in the United States, a sudden phone call brings them back together once more to reckon with and perhaps forgive the past. I'm looking forward to not just reading that, but purchasing that as well. So the next book that is on my radar is called The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez. This is set to come out on April 2nd, published by Algonquin Books, and it's categorized as magical realism / literary fiction, which I really like. I really like magical realism. Alma Cruz, the celebrated writer at the heart of the Cemetery of Untold Stories, doesn't want to end up like her friend, a novelist who fought so long and hard to finish a book that it threatened her sanity. So when Alma inherits a small plot of land in the Dominican Republic, her homeland, she has the beautiful idea of turning it into a place to bury her untold stories, literally. She creates a graveyard for the manuscript drafts and revisions, and the characters whose lives she tried and failed to bring to life and who still haunt her. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read. That looks good. Plus the cover is really, really pretty. I love that blue and that mix of green and the baby blue at the bottom. I love that combination. So yeah, that's definitely on my radar. The next book on my radar. Oh yes, the next book on my radar. This one seemed really interesting because I saw the cover and I was like, oh, I'm intrigued by the cover. And I read part of the synopsis or like some kind of like snippet about it somewhere, I think on LitHub, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. So this one is called I Cheerfully Refuse by Leaf Anger. It is categorized as science fiction / literary fiction / dystopia as well. And it is out April 2nd, published by Atlantic Monthly Press. And the synopsis says, set in a not so distant America, I Cheerfully Refuse is a tale of Rainy, an aspiring musician setting sail on Lake Superior in search of his departed, deeply beloved book-selling wife. An endearing bear of an orphan narrator, he seeks refuge in the harbors, fogs, and remote islands of the inland sea. After encountering lunatic storms and rising corpses from the warming depths, he eventually lands to find an increasingly desperate and illiterate people, a malignant billionaire ruling class, a crumbled infrastructure, and a lawless society as his guileless nature begins to make an inadvertent rebel of him. Rainy's private quest for the love of his life grows into something wider and wilder, sweeping up friends and foes alike in his wake. So yeah, this seems really interesting. Plus it's a painting too. I think that cover, yeah, it looks like a painting. I love it. The next on my list is a translation and set to come out on April 16 and is called Butter by Asako Yuzuki, and it's translated by Polly Barton. This is categorized as a thriller, mystery thriller / contemporary, and set to come out April 16 and published by Echo. Gourmet cook Manako Kaji sits in Tokyo Detention Center convicted of the serial murders of lonely businessmen who she is said to have seduced with her delicious home cooking. The case has captured the nation's imagination, but Kaji refuses to speak with the press, entertaining no visitors. That is until journalist Rika Mashida writes a letter asking for her recipe for beef stew, and Kaji can't resist writing back. Ooh, that sounds good. Yes, yes, yes. The next book on my radar, and this one is kind of rare for me because I do read anthologies and stories, but I'm not one to like go out of my way to like find them or, you know, search for them or whatever. But this one, the cover called me and I was like, all right, I'll add it to my radar for 2024. And that is Weird Black Girls Stories, or Weird Black Girls, by Elwyn Cotman. And this category is a short stories. It's set to come out on April 16 and published by Scribner. A rural town finds itself under the authoritarian sway of a tree that punishes children. A pair of old friends navigate their fraught history as strange happenings escalate in a Mexican restaurant. A pair of narcissistic friends wreak havoc on an activist community. An aloof young man finds himself living through his lover's memories. So yeah, all these stories sound really interesting. The next book on my list, on my radar for 2024 is called You Know What You Did by K.T. Nguyen. And this is categorized as a mystery, thriller / horror, published by Dutton, set to come out April 16, 2024. And it reads, Annie Ann Lee Shaw grew up poor but seems to have it all now. A dream career, a stunning home, and a devoted husband and daughter. When Annie's mother, a Vietnam War refugee, dies suddenly one night, Annie's carefully curated life begins to unravel. Her obsessive-compulsive disorder, which she thought she vanquished years ago, comes roaring back. But this time, the disturbing fixation swirling around in Annie's brain might actually be coming true. The next book, set to come out on April 19, 2024, and that is The Garden by Claire Beams. And first I wasn't gonna put this on my list, but then I read part of the synopsis and I was like, okay, I'll add it. This is categorized as historical fiction / horror. Set to come out April 9, being published by Doubleday. In 1948, Irene Willard, who's had 5 previous miscarriages, in a quest to give her beloved husband the child he desperately desires and is now pregnant again, comes to an isolated house come hospital in the Berkshires, run by a husband and wife team of doctors who are pioneering a cure for her condition. Warily, she enlists herself in the efforts of the doctor's hall to rectify the maternal environment, both physical and psychological. In the meantime, she also discovers a long-forgotten walled garden on the spacious grounds, a place imbued with its own powers and pulls. As the doctor's plans begin to crumble, Irene and her fellow patients make a desperate bid to harness the power of the garden for themselves. Okay, that's it. I'm not gonna read anymore. So there may be a lot of trigger warnings in this one. Just be aware that there's a lot of pregnancy trigger warnings. The next book on my list and on my radar for 2024, it's called The Mother Act by Heidi Reimer. And for now, it's only categorized as a fiction, being published by Dutton, and expected publication date is April 30th. So I'll read part of the synopsis so we can get an understanding of what genre it's part of. So set against the sparkling backdrop of the theater world, this propulsive debut follows a complicated relationship between an actress who refuses to abandon her career and the daughter she chooses to abandon instead. Sadie Jones, a larger-than-life actress and controversial feminist, never wanted to be a mother. No one feels this more deeply than Jude, the daughter Sadie left behind. While Jude spent her childhood touring with her father's Shakespearean theater company, desperate for validation from the mother she barely knew, Sadie catapulted to fame on the wings of The Mother Act, a scathing one-woman show depicting her maternal rage. Ooh, okay, that's all I'm gonna read. So it's like a mother-daughter relationship. So yeah, that seems interesting and definitely one I'm looking forward to reading. hopefully in 2024. So we're moving on to the month of May, and the book that I'm going to talk about right now that's coming out in May is set to come out on May 7, and it is called The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. I think I saw it on somebody else's radar on YouTube. I can't remember whose channel I saw it on. It's categorized as science fiction / romance, actually. That's interesting because I don't read a lot of romance. I also see a category here for time travel and fantasy, so interesting. It is set to come out May 7, being published by Avid Reader Press / Simon & Schuster, and it reads, in the near future, a civil servant is offered the salary of her dreams and is shortly afterward told what project she'll be working on. A recently established government ministry is gathering expats from across history to establish whether time travel is feasible for the body, but also for the fabric of space-time. She is tasked with working as bridge, living with, assisting, and monitoring the expat known as 1847, or Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died on Sir John Franklin's doomed 1845 expedition to the Arctic. I'm gonna stop reading from there. I was interested in this book, not because of the romance, but because of like the sci-fi aspect to it. For some reason, I've been getting a little bit slowly into a little bit of science fiction, and this one really was intriguing. So, plus it has like a what do you call it, time travel, which I kind of like. I like time travel in movies. I don't know if I like time travel in books, but we'll see. I don't think I've ever read a time travel book, so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so that's, what is this again? The Ministry of Time. The next book on my radar and is set to come out on May 14 is called This Strange Eventful History, and it is being published by W.W. Norton and Company, and it's categorized as historical fiction. This is how LitHub described it and why I added it to my radar. There are few genres more enjoyable than the sprawling, decade-spanning family saga, especially in the hands of a brilliant novelist. Claire Massoud's latest novel tells the story of an Algerian-born French family from 1940 through 2010 as they navigate personal and political upheaval. Yi-Yun Lee calls it a tour de force, one of those rare novels which a reader doesn't merely read, but lives through with the characters. So that's why I added it to my want to read list. It intrigued me because of LitHub, actually. So that's where I got this recommendation from, and that one is This Strange Eventful History, set to come out May 14. The next book on my radar, and I picked it literally because of the cover, and it is called Perfume and Pain by Anna Dorn. It's set to come out on May 21st, being published by Simon & Schuster, and is categorized as fiction / queer and romance, actually, too. It's a romance too. The synopsis reads, having recently moved both herself and her formidable perfume bottle collection into a tiny bungalow in Los Angeles, mid-list author Astrid Dahl finds herself back in the Zoom writers group she co-founded, Sapphic Scribes, after an incident that leaves her and her career lightly canceled. But she temporarily forgets all that by throwing herself into a few sexy distractions, like Ivy, a grad student researching 1940s lesbian pulp who smells like metallic orchids, or her new neighbor Penelope, who smells like patchouli. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read, but I pretty much picked it because of the cover. I just love pink covers. I can't help myself. When I see a pink cover, I'm like, okay, what is that? I need to know what that book is. So yeah, that is Perfume and Pain, and it's set to come out on May 21st. Also set to come out on May 21st is a Joyce Carol Oates book. And I've never read Joyce Carol Oates before, and this one, it's called Butcher, It's being published by Knopf, and it's categorized as historical fiction / suspense. Interesting. In this harrowing story based on an authentic historical documents, or on authentic historical documents, we follow the career of Dr. Silas Weir, the father of gynospsychiatry, as he ascends from professional anonymity to national renown. Humiliated by a disastrous procedure, Weir is forced to take a position at the New Jersey Asylum for Female Lunatics, where he reigns. There, he is allowed to continue his practice, unchecked for decades, making a name for himself by focusing on women who have been neglected by the state. Women he subjects to the most grotesque modes of experimentation. As he begins to establish himself as a pioneer of the 19th century surgery, Weir's ambition is fueled by his obsessive fascination with a young Irish indentured servant named Bridget, who becomes not only Weir's primary experimental subject, but also the agent of his destruction. Okay, that sounds really interesting. I've never read a book by Joyce Carol Oates. I definitely saw this cover and I was like, I want to add that. I want to know what that book is about. So now we're moving on to June releases. And the first book that I'm looking forward to reading in June is Tarantulas by Poroshista Kakpur. This one is categorized as contemporary fiction, set to come out on June 1st and being published by Pantheon. And this reads, Iranian-American multimillionaires Ali and Homa Milani have it all: a McMansion in the hills of Los Angeles, a microwavable snack empire, and 4 spirited daughters. There's Violet, the big-hearted aspiring model, Roxana, the chaotic influencer, Mina, the chronically online overachiever, and the impressionable health fanatic Haley. On the verge of landing their own reality TV show, the Milanis realize their deepest secrets are about to be dragged out into the open before the cameras even roll. Oof, okay, yeah, this sounds really good. The next book that is set to come out, and this one I actually found it on Instagram actually. It is called Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay, and this cover, of course, like as soon as I saw this cover, I was like, okay, let me add it to my radar. I don't go for a lot of horror. I did read a few horrors last year, but this one, it seems really good. So yeah, it's categorized as horror, like I mentioned, horror, mystery, contemporary, set to come out on June 11 and being published by William Moreau. And it reads, in June 1983, a group of young guerrilla filmmakers spent 4 weeks making Horror Movie, a notorious, disturbing art house horror flick. The weird part, only 3 of the filmed scenes were ever released to the public, but Horror Movie has nevertheless grown a rabid fan base. 3 decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. The man who played the thin kid is the only surviving cast member. He remembers all too well the secrets buried within the original screenplay, the bizarre events of the filming, and the dangerous crossed lines on set that resulted in tragedy. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I'm excited to read this. The next book on my radar, also set to come out on June 11, it is called One of Our Kind by Nicola Yoon. I've never read a Nicola Yoon book before. I've heard a lot of great things about her books. This one is set to come out on June 11, being published by Knopf, and is categorized as a mystery thriller and horror. When Jasmine and King Williams move their family to the planned Black Utopia of Liberty, California, they hope to find a community of like-minded people, a place where their growing family can thrive. King settles in at once, embracing the Liberty ethos, including the Lux Wellness Center at the top of the hill, which proves to be the heart of the community. But Jasmine struggles to find her place. She expected to find liberals and social justice activists striving for racial equality, but Liberty residents seem more focused on booking spa treatments and ignoring the world's trouble. Jasmine's only friends in the community are equally perplexed and frustrated by Liberty's outlook. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. That looks really cool. Plus this cover is like really nice. When you look at this cover, you wouldn't think that, oh, it's a mystery thriller, but that's really intriguing. That's really cool. I like that cover, and the synopsis sounds really good. Next book is called The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, and this might be a little bit triggering. I saw the cover and I was like, ooh, what is this cover? I want to add it. All right, I read part of the synopsis, and I don't usually pick up books like this, but I'll tell you why. So it is categorized as mystery thriller, historical fiction as well, I see here. Expected to come out, oh, it says expected publication date is June 11, but I do see maybe like a push for July 2nd, so it might be early June or early July, and it's being published by Riverhead Books. When Barbara Van Laar is discovered missing from her summer camp bunk one morning in 1975, it triggers a panicked, terrified search. Losing a camper is a horrific tragedy under any circumstances, but Barbara isn't just any camper. She's the daughter of the wealthy family that owns the camp, as well as the opulent nearby estate and most of the land in sight. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. In this, Barbara's older brother also went missing 16 years ago, never to be found. How could this have happened yet again? So I don't usually like to read books about like missing children and stuff, and I mean it could be triggering maybe for some people, maybe even for me. The cover definitely intrigued me right when I saw it, and then to know that it's like about like a wealthy family, maybe some like family drama and all that stuff too. So yeah, I put it on my radar. I'm not sure if I'll get to it, but I'm definitely interested. I'm curious about it. The next book on my radar is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, and that one is set to come out on June 18. I haven't read the latest book from Riley Sager, The Only One Left. This cover definitely intrigued me, and I do still want to read The Only One Left. But in any case, Middle of the Night, categorized as mystery thriller, of course, / horror, being published by Dutton, and it reads, the worst thing to ever happen on Hemlock Circle occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor Billy fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. During the night, someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. Oh my God, another missing child. Okay, I don't know if I want to read it anymore, but it's on my radar. And the last book on my radar for June, and this one is set to come out on June 22nd. Yes, June 22nd, and it is called Swiped by L.M. Chilton. It is, oh, that's weird. Okay, well, I see a publication date here of June 22nd, but then another one that says May 21st, so keep your eyes open if you're interested. It's being published by Gallery / Scout Press, and it is categorized as a mystery thriller / romance. The mystifying world of online dating gets a terrifying, clever, and darkly hilarious twist in this unputdownable thriller. Ooh. Gwen Turner has made a bloody mess of her life. She recently broke up with the best man she's ever known, for reasons even she can't admit to herself, and quit a lucrative job to open her own coffee shop. To top it all off, her best friend is getting married and leaving her behind in singlehood. Along with too much cheap wine and bad reality TV, Gwen turns to a dating app to help fill the void in her life, swiping through the few eligible bachelors left in town. She spends her evenings out on one disastrous date after another, but when a string of murders suddenly occurs in her small coastal English city, she's shocked by the connection between each of the victims. They've all been on a date with her. Okay, yeah, that sounds really good. Ooh, okay, that sounds good. So yeah, that's definitely on my radar. So that's it. Those are the books that are on my radar for the first half of 2024. I'll have a second half for 2024 releases. I'll probably do it like maybe end of June or like May or something, probably end of June, because that's when more dates and stuff will be set. But yeah, let me know down below if there's any of these books that you are interested in reading, that are on your radar, that you probably are going to completely ignore. And also please subscribe down below. I do have an upcoming video that I'm really excited to announce, and currently working on and editing, and I'm hoping that you guys like and subscribe and that you watch. And if you like this video, if you want to see more videos, do let me know. Let me know what kind of videos you'd like to watch, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!